What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Paddock, and today we are going to talk about some of the biggest phrasing mistakes that intermediate saxophone players make and how to fix them. By the end of this tutorial, you're going to think about phrasing in an entirely different way, and all of your melodies are going to sound a whole lot better. For this tutorial, here is the mantra that I want you to keep saying in your head. Melodies are not just notes and rhythms. Melodies are not just notes and rhythms. They are musical sentences used to create energy and emotion. When you're playing a melody, your main job is to express yourself musically and bring out the emotion. Notes are working together to tell a story. So don't just look at the notes in a melody as individual notes that just happen to be next to each other. These notes are working together to tell a musical sentence, to create a musical sentence. So I want you to think about your notes and your rhythms in phrases and musical sentences. The biggest steps in accomplishing this storytelling aspect of playing a melody is through the use of dynamics and articulations. Some notes need to be louder and some notes need to be softer. Some notes need to be articulated stronger and some notes need to be played smoothly. With this in mind, listen to this melody again, which is in a sentimental mood, and listen to how much the dynamics and articulations help shape the phrases. As painful as this is going to be, I'm going to play in a sentimental mood with no dynamics or articulations. That sounds like a truck horn. That low B sounds like a truck horn. So you need to use dynamics and articulations. That is your very first step to creating musical sentences. That's what you want your phrases to sound like. You do not want them to sound like notes and rhythms. You want it to flow. You want it to have a feel. You want it to have emotion. You need to be thinking in musical sentences. If you're an early intermediate saxophone player, then this next concept might be a little new to you. And that is when you play a melody, oftentimes you're expected to personalize it through ad-libbing. All ad-libbing means is to add stuff to the melody. In other words, don't play it exactly as it's written. So oftentimes when we are playing a melody on the saxophone, it comes from a lead sheet. A lead sheet is just a bare bones version of the song without any of the cool stuff written in. So when you have a lead sheet or just the basic music to a melody, there's nothing there. So you are expected to add things into it. And if you didn't know, ad-lib means to add stuff to the melody, to personalize it and make it sound a lot more interesting. There are 4 basic steps to ad-libbing, which I teach step by step in my sax school if you want to dive deeper into improving your melodies. But for this tutorial, we are just going to focus on changing the rhythm. So here is what the lead sheet version of the jazz standard, There Will Never Be Another You, sounds like without ad-libbing. Even when I use dynamics and articulations, it still sounds really boring because the melody is just a bunch of quarter notes with some long notes in between. So there's just nothing going on. There's no forward motion. It just doesn't flow. To make this melody sound great, all you need to do is change the rhythm. The main rule when it comes to changing the rhythm is that you always have to have the correct amount of beats in the measure. So if you make one note shorter, you have to make another note in that measure longer. So everything always needs to add up to the correct amount of beats in that measure. For example, in There Will Never Be Another You, every measure has to have 4 beats. You can't make a note short and then not make up for that later on, because then you'll have weird odd metered measures and that won't sound cool at all. That might sound pretty difficult, but once you start ad-libbing, you're just going to start to feel the time and all of the math will work itself out. I also strongly suggest listening to singers sing the song that you're working on and learning the lyrics. You would be shocked at how much better you will phrase a melody if you know the lyrics. When you know the lyrics, you're going to know which notes are more important, what to bring out, and how to shape the phrases. If these tips are giving you a new insight on how you should be looking at melodies, then I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and click that bell for notifications. Let me know in the comments which melody you're going to use some of these tips and tricks on first. Now let's add a little flavor to our melodies through the use of embellishments. Embellishments are little decorations that you add to a note to make it flow and have a lot more style. Some really common embellishments are grace notes, turns, falls, and scoops. When you add embellishments to a melody, it will 100% every time take it to the next level. Here is an example of me playing Misty without any embellishments. Now, it sounds really good when I use the dynamics and change the rhythm up and shape the phrase and all that kind of stuff. But when I add in the embellishments, it just is going to take it way up to the next level. Take a listen. As you can hear, adding in those embellishments takes that melody to an entirely different level and really makes everything flow. Just listen to the first part of this phrase without embellishments. Now, listen to what happens when I add in the turns and the falls and the grace notes and all the stuff that brings out the magic. Embellishments go a long way. So if you want to play melodies like a pro and avoid some of the most common phrasing fails, then treat your phrases like a musical sentence. Start off ad-libbing by using different rhythms to personalize your melodies and bring out your flow through the use of embellishments. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into my saxophone world, come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.